In a desperate bid for survival, I transformed into a cow-patterned cat, racing daily to the supermarket owned by my childhood friend. My initial tactic involved rolling onto my back and purring sweetly, and seizing the fleeting moment of his distraction, I would dart away with a sausage in my mouth. To my astonishment, that very evening, he replayed the entire incident live, prompting an outpouring of comments from viewers. This cat has become sentient. First, it lures you into petting it, and then, when you're unawares, it pilfers the sausage. Cat. After being petted, you won't pay? How dare you cyberbully me? Thus began my reluctant career as a professional sausage thief, as he remained vigilant, streaming his surveillance around the clock. The entire internet watched our wits collide. The streamer has once again fallen prey to the cunning of the beautiful cat. Goodness, this time there are two little cats. They are planning a tactical encirclement. In an instant, my antics alongside my childhood companion became a sensation across the web. 1. My consciousness felt as though it were submerged in murky waters, struggling to surface. With great effort, I managed to lift my eyelids instinctively. I attempted to rub my eyes, but what rose before me was a paw adorned with a coat of black and white fur, ending in sharp little claws. Buzz. My mind felt as though it had been struck by a heavy hammer, leaving a void filled only with a piercing ringing in my ears. Had I been in an accident? Had I flown through the air? And then, I was a cat. Startled, I sprang to my feet, glancing down at my form. My fur, a mottled black and white, resembled an unevenly laid milk cow carpet. My long tail curled and stiffened behind me without my control. Fear engulfed me like a frigid tide. What have I become? A stray cow cat. Meow! A terrified cry escaped my throat involuntarily, high-pitched and thin, echoing through the quiet alley and shocking me anew. My body responded instinctively, and I darted into a nearby dilapidated cardboard box exuding a musty odor, my heart racing wildly within my small chest, nearly shattering my ribs. Am I dead? Countless questions bubbled in my mind like boiling water. Cautiously, I peeked out, warily surveying this unfamiliar alley. The passage was narrow, flanked by the weathered walls of old residential buildings. The instinct to survive overwhelmed the chaos of my thoughts. I arched my back, pressing against the darkest corner of the wall, moving silently toward the alley's mouth like a furry shadow. Following the tantalizing scent, my gaze landed on a small shop diagonally across the way. There, a few boxes of beverages were stacked at the entrance. A faded plastic lounge chair leaned against the shop door. Reclining in the chair was a figure lazily swaying, wielding a large fan that moved in a languid rhythm. The afternoon sun illuminated him, outlining a familiar silhouette, his slightly tousled short hair, sharply defined jawline, and the nonchalant expression evident even with his eyes closed. Lin Xiang. Every hair on my body stood on end. After years apart, what was he doing here? Managing a convenience store? Fragments of memory swiftly pieced themselves together as grandfather. Indeed, after retiring, he had opened a small shop in this old residential neighborhood. Fate's jest was utterly absurd. I had turned into a cat, starved and desperate, and the first being I encountered was him. Lin Xiang, lounging in the chair, seemed to be enjoying the breeze from the alley, shifting into a more relaxed posture as the fan covered his face. The glass counter of the convenience store was within his reach, and the mouth-watering aroma wafting from an open box contained a bounty of bright red sausages. The growl from my stomach grew louder, as if a tiny drummer were pounding within. Dignity? In the face of hunger, it held no worth. I was now merely a cat striving to survive. 2. Target lock, sausage. Tactical strategy. A diversionary tactic, the feline charm to lure the enemy. I took a deep breath, though a cat's lung capacity is lamentably minimal. Striving to suppress the last vestige of human shame. Channeling every ounce of my theatrical prowess, I gracefully emerged from behind the air conditioning unit. Sunlight danced upon my black and white fur as I endeavored to recall the elegant strides of those internet-famous felines from short videos, hoping to appear, well, at least not quite like a starving ghost. I made my way directly to Lin Xiang's lounge chair, halting just a step away from him. He seemed oblivious, the fan still covering his face. Meow, I strained my voice, producing what I believed to be an adorably sweet sound. I elongated the final note, imbued with a slight quiver. The fan stirred slightly and slowly shifted aside. Lin Xiang's perpetually languid eyes emerged, still clouded with sleep, gazing quizzically towards the source of the sound. Our eyes locked. His expression transitioned from confusion to a hint of intrigue. Excellent. I had successfully taken the first step. I immediately pressed on, allowing my body to soften as I flopped down, exposing my soft, white-furred belly. This was the utmost gesture of trust and friendliness among cats. As I endeavored to arch my belly higher, I continued to call out in that syrupy, melodious voice, meow. My gaze mimicked that of an innocent kitten, wide and watery, directed at him, while the tip of my tail swayed in sync. Lin Xiang was clearly taken aback. He straightened up, forgetting to wave his fan. Fixated on my unguarded, exposed belly. Sunlight illuminated his face, and I could distinctly see his lips involuntarily curl upwards. The previous glint of mischief in his eyes replaced by something softer. His Adam's apple bobbed, as if struck by some adorable creature. Now was the moment. I lay on the ground, feigning innocence, and with a sudden burst of energy from my hind legs, the harmless little kitten transformed into a bolt of lightning. My target was not him, but rather the open box of sausages on the counter beside him. My black and white figure darted so swiftly that it left only a blurred afterimage. I accurately pounced on the edge of the cardboard box, my sharp claws extending like lightning to firmly snag the plastic wrapping atop a sausage. Secured. I spun around. My hind legs propelled me fiercely off the edge of the counter. The entire maneuver flowed seamlessly, from initiation to triumphantly clutching my prize, all accomplished in under 2 seconds. Oh my! From behind, Lin Xiang let out a short, completely broken cry of surprise. Clutching the life-saving sausage in my mouth, I didn't look back, my forepaws flying as I dashed like a black and white lightning bolt along the corner of the wall. Behind me, Lin Xiang's astonishment seemed stuck in his throat. The only sound left was the wind whistling past my ears. 3. After relishing the delectable sausage, I stealthily approached the outside of Lin Xiang's convenience store. Snap! Inside the room, the mouse was forcefully clicked, and the livestream playback froze at a particular moment. The glow of the computer screen illuminated Lin Xiang's face, which was etched with disbelief. He leaned forward, nearly pressing his face against the screen, his fingers unconsciously ruffling his tousled hair. On the screen, a well-proportioned, distinctly patterned cow cat launched itself towards the box of sausages on the counter in an extraordinarily twisted, yet remarkably swift manner, its paws airborne. The movement was so rapid it even left an afterimage. I watched from outside the window, savoring the spectacle. Hiss! Lin Xiang gasped, then rewound the playback slightly, pausing at another frame. The cat, lying at his feet, belly exposed, gazing up with wet eyes, calling out in an innocent, endearing manner. Immediately following was the electrifying moment of theft. The stark contrast made Lin Xiang's mouth twitch uncontrollably. He suddenly leaned back against his gaming chair, gulping down a large mouthful of ice water in an attempt to extinguish the shock and absurdity that overwhelmed him. This cat had certainly become extraordinary, he muttered, his voice hoarse with excitement. All that remained in his mind was the image of the cat sprinting away with the sausage, its tail held high. Curving with a hint of pride, unintentionally, he opened the video editing software, extracting those pivotal seconds from the belly-up display of affection to the lightning-fast theft and subsequent escape. He adorned it with oversized, wobbling text and exclamations, casually posting it to his short video account, typically reserved for gaming highlights. Just a record of being outsmarted by a cat in stealing a sausage. He hastily typed a title, clicked publish, then tossed his phone aside, ready to stream his gaming session. This trivial life interlude, in his career as a gaming streamer with millions of followers, would hardly create a ripple. He was mistaken. There was no ripple. What ensued was a tsunami. In less than an hour, Lin Xiang's phone began to vibrate furiously, the notification sounds erupting like firecrackers. He had just concluded an intense ranked match, frowning as he picked up his phone to unlock it. Unread messages, 999. His fan group chat had exploded, his messages flooding the screen. The private message icon for his short video was adorned with a bright, alarming number, 9999. Even more absurdly, the video he had casually posted was skyrocketing in likes at a visible pace, the comment section swelling by thousands with each refresh. Lin Xiang was utterly bewildered. He clicked on his video's comment section. The top comment, with hundreds of thousands of likes, "You don't have to pay for touching me? Accusing me of stealing? How ridiculous. Dog head." The second hot comment, "Did he actually retrieve the surveillance footage to cyberbully Xiao Mao?" Shocked. The third, regarding the case of not compensating after touching a kitten. Let me meow a few things. First, meow 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 meow. The fourth, you have no self-control against cat charm, streamer. Amusing. Below followed a long string of commentary. Cat. Feline charm. Kid. With such agility and performance, it would be a pity not to film a live-action version of Tom and Jerry. Streamer. It loves me. Cat. Got it. Time to run. Sausage. First of all, I haven't wronged anyone. Lin Xiang gazed at the screen filled with laughter and an endless stream of memes. Feeling as though his worldview had been shattered and trampled by that cow cat and this group of absurd netizens. He had become the infamous streamer, known across the internet for being duped out of a sausage by a cat. And that cat, which was me, though I had witnessed Lin Xiang's astonished expression through the glass, remained oblivious to the fact that I had become a sensation. For gurgle, the familiar, despair-inducing sound of my empty stomach echoed once more within me. I curled up atop an abandoned power distribution box in a secluded corner of the neighborhood, ears perked in vigilance. The air was thick with an unusual tension. This once quiet, aging complex felt unsettlingly amiss. Unfamiliar faces had noticeably multiplied. People loitered with phones in hand, furtively circling the greenery and trash bins, their eyes scanning like searchlights, murmuring about Xiao Mao and whether he would appear today, even using sausages and cat treats as bait. Fear coiled around my heart like icy tendrils. I was merely a cat yearning to survive. Why were there so many unknown individuals hunting for cats? And specifically targeting cow cats? This was terrifying. I couldn't even ascertain the state of my body, whether I lay in a hospital or if my parents were worried sick. Hunger and anxiety gnawed at my nerves like two dull knives, while the remnants of my human consciousness screamed to flee from danger. The feline instinct howled in desperation. Food. Must have food. 5. My gaze involuntarily drifted once more towards the small convenience store at the street corner. There lay the sausages. The one watching the shop was Lin Xiang. The thought of him filled me with a profound sense of humiliation, to the point where my very fur seemed to bristle. Yet, my empty stomach was ruthlessly convulsing. I had no choice. As night descended, under the dim yellow glow of the streetlights, a small lamp at the entrance of the convenience store still flickered. Lin Xiang appeared to have just bid farewell to a few elderly neighbors who had come to shop. He was engrossed in his phone, gesturing animatedly towards the counter. An opportunity. I nestled within the shadows by the wall, like a silent black and white specter, swiftly closing the distance. When I was but a few meters from the counter, I employed my usual tactic. I gracefully leapt onto an adjacent empty beverage crate, ensuring I was within his line of sight, and then...
Meow.
My voice was soft and elongated, imbued with a touch of pitiful tremor. Lin Xiang was indeed captivated. He turned his head, instinctively directing the camera on his phone towards me. The faint glow of the screen illuminated his face, which bore an expression that was a curious mixture of clenched vigilance and an unnameable, captivating focus. Not again, he muttered, his voice low and tinged with exasperation. You stole 2 from me yesterday. The day before, 1.5 bags of dried fish. For heaven's sake, my grandfather runs a small business. I feigned ignorance, tilting my head and gazing at him innocently with my large, bright eyes that sparkled in the darkness, my tail elegantly swaying. I leaned forward slightly, adopting a posture that suggested I wanted to approach, yet was a tad apprehensive. I knew this tactic would be effective against him. Lin Xiang indeed froze. He stared at me, his throat swallowing nervously, the wariness in his eyes dissolving into a familiar softness, laced with a hint of eagerness. The hand holding his phone seemed to relax just a bit. Now was the moment. I suddenly propelled myself off the beverage crate, my body shooting towards the counter like an arrow. My target was the newly opened bag of fish, exuding a deadly allure. Damn it, not this again. Lin Xiang snapped back to reality, emitting a frantic shout as he reached out to block me. But it was too late. My claws had already deftly snagged the fish packaging. I clutched it tightly and darted away. My movements were as fluid as if they had been rehearsed 1,000 times. Stop right there, you little thief. Lin Xiang's furious shout and the sound of his hurried footsteps echoed behind me. Without a glance back, I clutched the fish in my mouth, weaving skillfully between flower beds and trash bins, easily shaking him off with a few leaps. Behind me, I could faintly hear him panting and cursing, along with the indistinct sound of laughter flooding from his phone. This guy. Was he actually live streaming my capture? The title, Lin Xiang's Convenience Store Cat Prevention Livestream, appeared in Lin Xiang's channel, which boasted millions of followers, giving it an air of surrealism. Brothers, did you see that? It's back. That look. Acting innocent. Acting pitiful. A true thespian. The Oscars owe it a little golden statue. Lin Xiang's voice, lowered with a mix of gritted teeth and excitement, followed the leisurely policking silhouette of me atop the electrical box. The comments section exploded with laughter. It's here. The daily highlight. Streamer temptation. Ha ha ha, streamer, you scold fiercely, yet your body is quite honest. The camera is practically on the cat's face. I perched atop the electrical box, observing the human below, who was holding his phone, and muttering incantations. Over the past few days, I had discerned his patterns. During the day, with many eyes around,
he was more restrained.
However, as evening fell and the store grew quieter, he would brandish his phone, claiming to be on guard against thieves. But in truth, he treated our battle of wits as a grand live-action real cat show. Was it humiliating? Of course. But compared to the gnawing hunger and the fear of being captured by strangers, this little humiliation was something I could endure. Strangely enough, witnessing his exasperation as he futilely tried to regain composure whenever I flipped over or tilted my head, ignited a peculiar sense of dark amusement within me. Hunger gnawed at me once more. I elegantly rose, stretching my limbs in a lengthy yawn, each hair glimmering under the yellow streetlight. Then, I gracefully leaped down from the electrical box, striding with a quintessential feline gait towards the beckoning light of the convenience store once more. It's coming! It's coming! Lin Xiang's voice suddenly rose, infused with the thrill of a hunter spotting prey entering a trap. Brothers, watch how I deal with it today. I've prepared a secret weapon. He shook a seemingly empty canister in his hand. The comments section erupted. Secret weapon? Streamer, are you out of your depth? I bet 5 dimes that the streamer's secret weapon will backfire. I halted a few meters away, tilting my head at the jingling canister, emitting a low, questioning purr from my throat. Little thing, are you tempted? Lin Xiang exclaimed triumphantly, shaking the canister as he crouched down to place it on the ground, nudging it forward. Come, come, there's something delicious. He endeavored to soften his tone, but the glint in his eyes betrayed him. Cautiously, I advanced 2 steps, sniffing the air. It was the scent of cat food, but mingled with a faint, unfamiliar aroma? A trap. I immediately halted, my ears pressing back in alertness. A low growl emanating from my throat as a warning. Clever, aren't you? Lin Xiang muttered, evidently surprised by my discernment. He grew anxious, instinctively leaning forward, trying to nudge the canister closer. Now was my chance. I lunged forward, but not towards the canister. Rather, I charged directly at Lin Xiang. In the midst of his astonished gaze, I sprang off the ground, aiming for the hand that held his phone. Meow. A sharp, short cry escaped me.
Damn.
Lin Xiang fumbled, attempting to shield his phone, losing his balance and nearly toppling over. Seizing the moment when his focus wavered, I landed, twisting midair, and targeted the counter. My claws shot out like lightning, snagging the largest, thickest sausage I had been eyeing. I clutched it tightly and dashed towards the nearby greenery without a backward glance. The entire sequence of movements transpired in a flash, and by the time Lin Xiang regained his footing, all he could see was the tip of my black and white tail vanishing into the dense holly bushes. In the live stream, the comments exploded. Haha, counterattack. Extreme counterattack. Just this? Just this? Streamer, are you up to the task? Another defeat by the beautiful cat. I can't stop laughing. The streamer's expression changed from smug to bewildered in just 0.5 seconds. Daily check-in. Streamer's losses today. 1. Lin Xiang gazed at the empty counter, then at his near-fallen phone, and finally at the flood of laughter and sympathy for the streamer in the comment section, his face turning a shade of green with rage. You wait. Tomorrow I will catch you and show you the harsh realities of society. In response, only the rustling of leaves in the wind filled the air, alongside the jubilant ocean of laughter in the live stream. The war between one human and one cat, under the watchful eyes and laughter of countless netizens, continued to escalate. The guerrilla warfare of stealing sausages persisted for nearly a week, with our battles becoming a steadfast feature at the convenience store entrance, a daily source of joy for online viewers. As the afternoon sun bathed everything in warmth, I continued to relish in the sheer delight of effortlessly outmaneuvering Lin Xiang. At this moment, he was awkwardly half-prostrated on the ground, the pitiful remnants of a sausage packaging scattered around him. I had just, with an exceptionally cunning angle, deftly swatted away the last half of the sausage he had attempted to lure me with, sending it flying to the corner of the wall.
Hey,
you thieving cat! What happened to honor among thieves? Lin Xiang exclaimed, exasperated, as he pushed himself up on his knees, a smudge of dirt adorning his face, trying to intimidate me with a fierce glare. I elegantly licked my paw, my amber feline eyes gleaming with insolent pride, emitting a disdainful purr from my throat, while my tail curled in a triumphant arc. Trampling on humans, especially those gaming-obsessed introverts, was simply a breeze. Just as I was preparing to press my advantage and further humiliate him with my gaze, a booming voice echoed like a bell. Lin Xiang. You little rascal. Both Lin Xiang and I jolted in surprise. An elderly gentleman, dressed in faded work clothes and exuding vigor, swept in like a gust of wind behind Lin Xiang, his large hand precisely grasping the boy's ear.
Ouch.
Grandpa, that hurts. Lin Xiang instantly transformed from an indignant rooster to a wilted eggplant, grimacing and tilting his head. Hurts?
You know what pain is.
The old man, full of vigor, nearly spat with fervor. All day long, you're glued to that wretched phone or computer playing games. Do you care for your eyes at all? Look at you now, all grown up. Coming here to attract cats and provoke dogs, huh? You can't even handle a cat, how shameful. Those witnessing the grandfather-grandson interaction online erupted in laughter. Poor Lin Xiang. Please, heavens, distinguish between loyalty and treachery. I make a living by gaming. Lin Xiang attempted to defend himself, clumsily pointing a finger at me. Seizing the opportune moment of their heartfelt interaction, I stealthily slipped to the corner and skillfully retrieved the victorious half of the sausage. With a graceful leap, I landed securely atop a low wall beside me. Finding a comfortable position to lounge, cradling the sausage between my front paws, I then leisurely stretched, arching my back and extending my tail straight toward the sky before allowing it to fall gently. The entire process was languid and delightful, perfectly embodying the essence of watching a cat fight from a safe distance. I squinted my eyes, observing Lin Xiang being chastised by his grandfather. His face flushed and his protests a cacophony of squawks, while the impish creature within me nearly burst with laughter.
Serves you right.
Trying to tease me with a sausage. As Lin Xiang dodged his grandfather's reprimanding hand, his eyes shot daggers at me, accusing me of treachery. He bared his teeth, once more furiously pointing at me. Lounging atop the low wall, his expression seemingly conveying, just wait. However, in the next instant, his countenance underwent a sudden transformation. Anger froze in place, his pupils dilated, mouth agape in a mixture of shock and disbelief. The hand accusing me hung suspended in midair. Instinctively, my feline senses ignited, and my fur bristled with an overwhelming sense of danger. With no time for contemplation, my body reacted quicker than my mind. My hind leg muscles exploded with strength, propelling me sideways like a spring. Almost simultaneously, a rough, odorous net, heavy with the scent of earth and sweat, descended with a whoosh from the opposite side of the low wall where I had just been resting. The large mesh, weighted down by leaden edges, was undoubtedly a professional tool designed to capture large dogs or incorrigible stray cats like myself. The coarse net brushed against my tail, lifting a few of my stray hairs into the air. I landed gracefully a few paces away, my heart racing in my chest. Nearly dropping the half-sausage, I was clutching in my mouth. On the other side of the wall, a man clad in filthy work pants clicked his tongue in frustration, evidently caught off guard by my swift reaction. He quickly retracted his failed net, his gaze darkening as he fixed it on me.
Run.
The thought struck my mind like a bolt of lightning. What sausage? What amusement at Lin Xiang's expense? To hell with it. My life was at stake.
Meow.
I let out an unprecedented, piercing cry of terror and warning, my voice soaring high enough to nearly shatter the air. I abandoned elegance. Disregarding the expressions of the grandfather and grandson, Lin Xiang's horrified face was clearly due to the sight of that net, and with all four paws propelling me forward. I reached my maximum speed, transforming into a streak of two-toned lightning racing toward the labyrinthine depths of the alley. Behind me, I could hear Lin Xiang's grandfather's voice booming even louder. What are you doing? Trying to catch a cat in broad daylight? Along with the gruff muttering of the man trying to trap me. But none of that mattered to me now. The wind howled past my ears. All I knew was run. Faster. Two unfamiliar figures stood at the alley's mouth, their eyes greedily fixated on me. My fur stood on end in terror, and I turned to flee, only to find myself pursued and cornered by their net. Just when I thought my fate was sealed, Linny charged in like a whirlwind, shielding me in his embrace and bellowing at the two. What do you want? My goodness. For the first time, I discovered this little rascal to be so dependable. Nestled against him, my heart raced like a drum. Well, didn't he expect this, did you? You've fallen into my clutches, Lin Xiang teased, hoisting me up by the scruff and locking eyes with me. I suppressed the urge to claw his face, uncertain if this cat body had even been vaccinated. I thought to myself, I can't be relying on others. I need to find a way to reconnect with my parents. If he's being annoying, I'll just deal with him. It's not like I haven't done it before. Encouraging myself, I felt a twinge of insecurity. After all, we hadn't spoken in years, and I had no idea how he had changed. He tucked me into the pocket of his coat, and thus began our chaotic cohabitation. The destructive tendencies of a cow-patterned cat seemed etched in its very genes. I couldn't resist sharpening my claws on his newly purchased gaming chair, gnawing his headphone cables into frayed tassels, and even prancing across his keyboard while he was live streaming. Lin oscillated daily between please, ancestor, stop causing chaos, and damn, this cat is so adorable. One time, while he was streaming an entertainment match, I leaped onto his shoulders and settled comfortably on his head. Viewers through the camera witnessed his head sinking lower and lower, and the chat exploded with laughter. This hefty Lin Xiang can actually hold it together. It's true love. Mitzi, do you have any idea of your own weight? My neck. I bear the weight I shouldn't have to. It wasn't until his character was slain by an opponent that Lin finally broke down and patted my rear end. Ancestor, get down. My neck is going to snap. I let out a disgruntled meow, unable to tolerate the insult, and raised my paw to deliver an unbeatable, adorable punch. He winced and pleaded, I was wrong. Our Mitzi is the slimmest. Days slipped by in playful chaos until that fateful day when Lin stumbled upon a crowdfunding campaign on social media. Severe injuries from a car accident, urgently in need of surgery funds. Su Mengyao, his voice trembled as he uttered my name. I perched on his knee, gazing at the lifeless image of myself lying in a hospital bed, my heart feeling as though it were being tightly gripped by claws. When his mother called, crying, she said my parents were nearly frantic and the doctors couldn't determine the cause of my coma. After hanging up, I saw Lin's tears fall onto the phone screen, blurring a small patch of water. This little rascal was actually crying? What shocked me even more was that without a second thought, he transferred 300,000 to my mother and made it a point to visit the hospital every day. Yet, suddenly, the public opinion online took a turn. Some claimed he had stolen someone else's cat for the sake of entertainment. Even digging up photos of me from my kitten days. A couple emerged, lamenting that I was their lost pet. They accused the internet celebrity of stealing someone else's beloved companion without a care for the law. The online discourse surrounding him is overwhelmingly negative, laden with accusations that he resorts to unscrupulous means for the sake of entertainment, while the few comments defending him are drowned out.
Linyi.
Amidst aiding my parents with hospital matters, is fervently engaged in countering the slander, yet he steadfastly refrains from relinquishing me. I watched the couple on camera, their faces contorted with anguish, my fur standing on end. On that fateful day, while Lin Xiang was away at a meeting, they audaciously hired a locksmith to force open Linyi's door and seize me. The elevator required a key card, yet these two lunatics ascended 17 flights of stairs. The woman clutched my neck tightly, constricting my breath, intent on stuffing me into an airline case for removal. Deep within my being lies the essence of this cat, and the horrifying memories, long suppressed, burst forth like a deluge. The frigid iron cage, the acrid scent of disinfectant mingling with the metallic tang of blood, the dull thud of a belt striking flesh, the agonizing pain of high heels grinding against my tail, not to mention the uproarious laughter of a drunken man and the acrid stench of burnt fur from a cigarette. Fragmented memories of torment, infused with suffocating dread, pierce my consciousness like countless icy needles. It is them, it is them, it is them. The twisted couple who profess to love cats while secretly torturing their pets. The original owner of this body, who could no longer endure the inhumane torment, fought desperately to escape from their hellish apartment. I screamed sharply, inciting the tall, lean man into a furious rage. He violently hurled the airline case to the ground with a resounding crash, sending its contents scattering. How dare you? He growled. At that moment, the elevator stopped abruptly on the 17th floor, and Lin Xiang emerged from his meeting. He rushed to intervene in the couple's violent actions, but I noticed a stick concealed behind the man. Be careful, I shrieked, though all that escaped my lips was a desperate yowl. Lin Xiang reacted swiftly, abruptly turning his head to evade the blow that nearly grazed his cheekbone, stirring the air. Yet the man, evidently trained, swiftly seized Lin Xiang's collar, forcefully throwing him against the adjacent wall. Meow! An overwhelming surge of terror and fury obliterated my rationality. I could not bear to witness him being struck. I forgot everything, my sole impulse being to protect this individual who, despite our constant bickering, stood in my defense at this critical juncture. In a frenzy of terror, I struggled mightily, my fear and suffocation driving me to thrash about, my hind legs kicking wildly, my sharp claws leaving bloodied trails on her arms. Dare to scratch me. The woman yelped in pain, her eyes narrowing with malice. She seemed to have entirely lost her sanity, or perhaps her nature was inherently savage. In a moment of desperation, she seized my body with both hands and, with all her might, hurled me towards the cold, unyielding staircase leading to the entrance of the building. As though I were a repugnant piece of refuse. Bang! The violent impact did not merely resonate through my flesh, but reverberated from the depths of my soul. It felt as though an invisible hammer, infused with the icy touch and tremendous force of the stairs, struck at the very core of my consciousness. At the instant of pain's onset, a force seemed to wrench my spirit from the cat's body. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying in the familiar confines of a hospital room, the scent of antiseptic causing me to cough. My eyelids felt weighted, as if laden with lead. I struggled to open them, just a sliver. My vision hazy, it gradually sharpened, revealing a pallid ceiling, and drip, and a transparent plastic tube connected to my arm. It was not the low, oil-stained concrete floor, nor was it the paws of a cat. It was the fingers of a human, somewhat pale, somewhat frail, yet undeniably my own. My heart raced within my chest, almost bursting forth. Am I back? Have I returned to my own body? A tremendous wave of euphoria washed over me like a tsunami, instantly sweeping away all weariness and discomfort. I yearned to sit up in excitement, but the movement engaged all my muscles, sending a jolt of intense pain and weakness coursing through me, causing me to groan and collapse back down. She is awake. Doctor. Doctor. She is awake. A familiar voice, thick with tears and brimming with disbelief and joy, resonated in my ears. It was my mother. She rushed to the bedside, her bloodshot eyes welling with large tears, trembling hands gently caressing my cheek, as though afraid of shattering a dream. You're awake. My Mengyao, you're finally awake. You scared your mother to death. You scared your mother to death. She wept uncontrollably. My father, with reddened eyes, gripped my hand tightly, his lips quivering as he struggled to speak. Only warm tears falling onto the back of my hand. The overwhelming relief of surviving and the guilt towards my parents nearly submerged me. I parted my lips, my throat dry and constricted, managing only a faint whisper. Mom, Dad, don't speak. Don't speak. Just being awake is enough. Just being awake is enough. My mother clutched my hand tightly, tears streaming unabated. The doctor and nurses soon arrived, bustling about with examinations. I had multiple soft tissue bruises and minor fractures. But the most concerning issues were concussion and an inexplicable deep coma. The doctor expressed astonishment and relief at my awakening. Days later, as my strength gradually returned and my spirits lifted, a singular thought persisted in my mind. What has become of Lin Xiang? What about the cat? I picked up the phone that my mother had charged and sent to me, my fingers trembling as I opened a familiar short video. Almost without the need for a search, glaring and familiar keywords dominated the trending list. Lin Xiang, broken bones. Cat abuse couple, character collapse. The viral video of the dairy cow cat being thrown, surveillance footage revealed. 17 floors of stair climbing, forced entry to seize the cat. How many years for breaking and entering? My heart leapt into my throat, and my fingertips grew cold as I clicked on the most popular video. The footage was captured from the surveillance angle at the entrance of the building, time-stamped to the very evening my soul was ejected. The video vividly recorded everything. How the heavily made-up woman cruelly choked the struggling dairy cow cat. How the lean man viciously broke Lin Xiang's arm with a stick. How Lin Xiang fell in agony. How the woman maniacally hurled the cat down the stairs. How Lin Xiang's team and assistant arrived just in time to subdue the man still intent on violence. And finally, the woman's face, pale and twisted, panic-stricken when confronted with irrefutable evidence. The video's caption was a statement from Lin Xiang's studio, accompanied by his photo, left arm radius and ulna fractured, and another where he, face pale but resolute, bore a heavy cast, regarding the rumors circulating that our host Lin Xiang, Xiangzi, stole a cat. We hereby clarify and state, the dairy cow cat in question is indeed a stray that has frequented the host's grandfather's community and is not the personal property of any individual. Relevant surveillance footage and neighbor testimonies have been submitted to the police. The couple, claiming to be the cat's owners, Zhang and Li, on the evening of date, without notifying the host or property management, illicitly contacted a locksmith to force open the hostess' security door, constituting illegal entry, intending to forcibly take the stray cat. During the host's intervention, Li maliciously struck him with a hard object, resulting in a fractured left arm. Injury assessment is shown. while Zhang, in the altercation, callously hurled the cat down the stairs, as evidenced by surveillance footage. Through tips from concerned netizens and preliminary police investigations, Zhang and Li are suspected of long-term animal abuse, with multiple instances of pet carcasses discovered near their residence. Their so-called persona as cat lovers is a mere facade. Our legal department has officially filed a criminal and civil lawsuit against the two, pursuing accountability for online harassment, illegal entry, intentional injury, and animal cruelty. The thrown dairy cow cat has been rescued by a veterinary clinic with a fractured hind leg, currently in recovery. The broadcaster Lin Xiang is actively cooperating with the treatment. I extend my gratitude to all the netizens who have shown concern regarding this matter. The truth will eventually be revealed. Let us stand against animal cruelty and respect life. Beneath the video, public opinion has dramatically shifted. The previous doubts cast upon Lin Xiang have been drowned out, replaced by an overwhelming tide of outrage and support. Scum. Despicable. They must be severely punished. My heart shattered at the sight of the cat being thrown down. Tears. Bravo, Xiangzi. Even with a fracture, you still think of protecting the cat. How could those two vile individuals who broke into assault and harm the cat not face dire consequences? I support Xiangzi. I support the fight for rights. Those who abuse animals must pay the price. I have seen the news of the cat's successful surgery. How wonderful. Praying. From this day forth, Xiangzi shall be my hero. A true man. This is the reality. Those who previously condemned the broadcaster must come forth to apologize. The issue of animal abuse being punishable by law must be elevated. This cannot be swept under the rug again. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the comments, tears uncontrollably streaming down my face, blurring my vision. It was a mixture of relief, fear, anger, and an indescribable ache of compassion. For that innocent cat. And for Lin Xiang, who, despite being in a cast, still had to deal with everything. The 300,000 he transferred to my mother. His unhesitating stance in front of me, the cat, the painful groans he emitted when his arm was broken, all these scenes flashed before my eyes. Days later, a gentle knock echoed at the door of the hospital room. Come in. I leaned back on the elevated hospital bed, putting down my phone. The door creaked open. First to enter was a cumbersome, snow-white pet carrier. Then, a tall figure awkwardly sidled in. It was Lin Xiang. He wore an oversized black shirt, with the left sleeve hanging empty, exposing his left arm, which was tightly encased in thick white plaster from shoulder to wrist, suspended with a bandage against his chest. His complexion was somewhat pale from blood loss, yet his eyes, usually infused with a hint of lazy amusement, sparkled vibrantly with a certain cautious, almost fervent anticipation. His gaze immediately locked onto me, unwavering for a single second. Those eyes, deep and mesmerizing, seemed to draw one in, swirling with an overwhelming complexity of emotions, ecstatic joy at having regained something precious, an unfathomable heartache, and a long-suppressed affection threatening to overflow. Behind him trailed a young assistant, carrying an assortment of nutritional supplements and a fruit basket, who carefully placed them against the wall before discreetly retreating and closing the door behind him. The hospital room was left with just the two of us, along with the carrier on the floor. The air felt as though it had solidified. I could distinctly hear my heart racing. Lin Xiang's gaze lingered on my face for what felt like an eternity, as if confirming that I was indeed here, unharmed. Then, as if recollecting something, he slightly turned, using his uninjured right hand to awkwardly open the carrier door. Meow, a weak yet familiar meow, tinged with a hint of grievance, resonated. A fluffy black and white head peeked out from the carrier. It was Xiao Mao. It seemed to be in good spirits, though its hind leg was bound in a similarly white splint and bandage, making movement a bit cumbersome. Its round, amber eyes first surveyed the room with curiosity before quickly honing in on me in the bed. A man, a cat, and a cast. This scene exuded a surreal blend of absurdity and an indescribable warmth, reminiscent of a life spared. It's recovering well, but it still needs time to heal. Lin Xiang broke the silence, his voice low and slightly hoarse, laced with an almost imperceptible tension. He stepped forward 2 paces, halting at a slight distance from my bed. His gaze still firmly fixed on me, his Adam's apple bobbing. He paused, seemingly gathering courage, his voice softening yet imbued with undeniable seriousness. How are you feeling? Does it still hurt? I shook my head, my gaze shifting between his suspended arm and the injured cat on the floor, my nose tinged with emotion. Unable to suppress a tearful smile. Even in this state, you're still worrying about others? Lin Xiang chuckled, a somewhat foolish grin softening the usual nonchalance in his eyes.
Revealing a pure warmth.
He took a small step closer, the distance between us diminishing. I could catch a faint scent of antiseptic mixed with his own. Fresh and clean aroma. He inhaled deeply, as if finally resolute in some decision. Those eyes, usually infused with a hint of casual amusement, now bore an intense seriousness, tinged with an air of desperation, locking onto mine. Su Mengyao, he called my name, his voice deep and clear. There are things I've hesitated to say. I always felt the timing wasn't right, or feared that speaking them would ruin our friendship. The room was enveloped in silence, save for the sound of our breathing and the occasional soft purring from Xiao Mao. He licked his dry lips, yet his gaze remained unwavering. I've actually cared about you for these past few years. I thought my feelings for you in high school were merely the whims of teenage hormones that would fade away. I feared that if I spoke up, I might scare you away and ruin our childhood bond. So, I sometimes acted aloof and at other times I avoided you, and in the end, I truly lost you. He self-deprecatingly tugged at the corner of his mouth, a look of deep regret etched on his face. Seeing you lying in the hospital, unresponsive, with your parents in tears. And this silly cat, he glanced at Xiao Mao, who was struggling to approach me, his gaze softening for a brief moment before returning to my face. Now filled with a mixture of profound compassion and determination. I realized I'm just an utter fool. What nonsense about timing. What nonsense about fearing to ruin our friendship. I almost missed my chance forever. His voice trembled, infused with a brave recklessness, his gaze burning with intensity. So, Su Mengyao, can you give me a chance? An opportunity to pursue you again, to cherish you properly? I swear, this time, I won't be foolish. My heart felt as if it were held tightly in a warm embrace, aching with sweetness. The disappointment and lingering feelings from his previous aloofness suddenly seemed minuscule in the face of his honest and fervent gaze. I looked at this man, adorned in a caste yet radiating an astonishing brilliance, while the cat that I had shared my soul with arched its back, resembling a comical little frog with its splinted leg, yet stubbornly nudging my fingers with its head. Time appeared to rewind, as if reconnecting in this moment. Meeting his anxious yet hopeful gaze, I nodded vigorously, tears finally rolling down uncontrollably, though my lips curled into a bright smile. Yes. My voice was soft yet resoundingly clear. In an instant, Lin Xiang's eyes burst forth with immense, radiant joy, illuminating the entire hospital room. He grinned widely, akin to a boy who has finally received his cherished candy, awkwardly attempting to step closer, yet hindered by the cast on his chest, his movements comical yet endearing. Just then, Xiao Mao, with great effort and its splinted hind leg, managed to inch its way to the side of my hospital bed. It lifted its fluffy little head, glancing at me, then at the grinning Lin Xiang, and then meow it let out a long, contented meow, as if saying, "See, the ham didn't he go to waste. Everything is sorted now." That night, Lin Xiang posted a picture on social media that quickly went viral. The image captured me and Xiao Mao nestled together, while Lin Xiang, with a phone in hand, beamed with joy, the caption reading, "Cats are my ancestors, while humans are the childhood sweethearts I have secretly adored for a decade." The comments are overflowing. The whole family is injured. Is Xiangzi using his injury to garner sympathy with the cat? What a scheming Xiangzi.
Oh.
But why does he have both a cat and a girlfriend? Just because he is handsome. Doge emoji. In a side story, the illustrious graduate of the Cat Virtue Academy and its unfortunate supporters, on the day when Lin Xiang's plaster arm gloriously retired, Xiao Mao's little splint, which had been a hindrance, was finally removed. The gentle veterinarian affectionately patted the cat's head, saying, "You have recovered splendidly. But please refrain from climbing so high in the future. Be cautious." Xiao Mao flicked its tail and meowed, its eyes brimming with defiance, as if to say, "I dare you to try." Once the plaster was removed, Lin Xiang did not celebrate his newfound freedom but instead raised his phone, initiating a long-awaited formal game live stream. The title was audacious, Return of the King. Xiangzi reemerges with his beloved, strike-through, beloved cat. The backdrop was no longer the cold esports room but rather a cozy corner of our living room adorned with decorations and a cat climbing frame. Lin Xiang settled into the esports chair while I lounged on the adjacent sofa, a book sprawled across my lap, with Xiao Mao lazily grooming itself at my feet. "Brothers, did you miss me?" Lin Xiang's voice boomed, filled with the exuberance of someone recovering from a serious illness. The chat erupted instantaneously. "Missed you to death, Xiangzi. Is your arm all better?" "Woohoo. The missing person returns.
Beloved?
Where's the beloved? We want to see the beloved. Attention upstairs. It's beloved cat. Beloved cat. Where's the streamer's survival instinct? Where's Xiao Mao? Where's my big Xiao Mao? Is your leg all healed? The camera adeptly shifted toward the lazy sofa. I waved at the camera with a smile. Xiao Mao, disturbed, lifted its fluffy head, gave a half-hearted meow towards the camera as a greeting, then resumed licking its paws with an air of noble aloofness.
Look.
Our ancestor. Recovering magnificently, Lin Xiang exclaimed with pride, as if introducing a child who had just been accepted into Tsinghua University. From now on, please refer to him as the illustrious graduate of the Cat Virtue Academy. The chat responded, Hail to the Cat Academy. Graduating? Full marks in the ham sausage major, right? Cat Virtue? Does it even exist? Doge emoji. Streamer. You're getting carried away. Have you forgotten the fear of being governed by the Cat Academy? Lin Xiang chuckled and opened the game. Today, I'll take you all to rank up. Let you witness what true skill looks like. The game commenced smoothly. Lin Xiang's play was sharp, and the atmosphere in the stream was vibrant. I occasionally glanced up at him, then returned to my book. Time flowed peacefully until Lin Xiang's character, nearly out of health, managed to turn the tables on two opponents, passionately shouting into the microphone, "Who else is there?" At that moment, a black and white fur ball silently leaped onto the desk before him. Xiao Mao strutted with elegant feline grace, completely ignoring Lin Xiang's frozen expression and the intense battle on the screen, decisively walking toward the keyboard. It seemed to have developed a keen interest in a flashing, multicolored keyboard light, lowering its head and tentatively licking it with its tiny pink tongue.
Hey.
Ancestor. Don't. Lin Xiang's warning trembled in his voice. It was too late.
Meow?
Xiao Mao appeared startled by the static or the peculiar sensation, retracting its neck sharply, inadvertently pressing down on the central enter key on the keyboard. Lin Xiang's hero was just about to return to base at the enemy's high ground tower, the countdown at its final second, when it abruptly halted, standing dumbfounded. The next moment, the enemy's resurrected heroes unleashed their skills, instantly overwhelming him. The screen turned gray. The live stream fell into a deafening silence. The only sounds were the game's failure notification and Xiao Mao's innocent, tilted head meow, gazing curiously at the screen, as if questioning its own handiwork. The chat erupted into chaos after a brief pause. Ha 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 ha. What the heck? Ha ha. The Cat Academy has struck. One paw to determine the universe. I can't breathe. Family. The streamer's face turned green. The illustrious graduate of the Cat Virtue Academy provides a live demonstration, how to gracefully send the streamer home. Xiao Mao. Heard you're quite the killer? Did you consult me first? Return of the King instantly transformed into return to the box. This move, I would call a fatal blow. In the physical sense, Lin Xiang stared at the gray screen, glanced at the innocent cat licking its paws beside him, and finally turned to me, whose shoulders were shaking with laughter. His expression shifted from shock to indignation, and finally to a sense of despair. Su Meng Yao. He gritted through clenched teeth. Control your son. I could no longer contain my laughter, tears nearly spilling from my eyes. How can I control it? It's the illustrious graduate of the Cat Virtue Academy. It has its own ideas. I reached out to scoop Xiao Mao, who was still studying the keyboard, into my arms, ruffling its fluffy head. Our Xiao Mao is amazing, isn't it? It avenged mommy, right? Xiao Mao purred contentedly in my embrace, casting a triumphant glance at Lin Xiang. Lin Xiang sighed deeply, turning off the computer, and pointed an accusatory finger at the cat nestled in my arms. It was intentional. It absolutely did it on purpose. It holds a grudge. Just because I hid a few pieces of ham sausage? I chuckled gleefully. Who told you to always stream while trying to catch it, embarrassing it? Cats have their dignity too. Xiao Mao chimed in with a timely, soft meow, rubbing its head against my hand, exuding an innocent charm. Lin Xiang glared at the duo, his frustration palpable, yet utterly helpless. He plopped down beside me, wrapped both me and the cat in his long arms, resting his chin atop my head, grumbling, "You two are sent from above to torment me." I leaned against him, feeling the warmth and vibrations of his chest, while Xiao Mao purred contentedly in my lap. I leaned up to kiss Lin Xiang's chin, laughing. So, can you withstand it, Xiangge? Lin Xiang lowered his head and playfully nipped at my lips, his gaze soft and warm, tinged with a resigned affection. Even if I can't, I must. Who told me? He paused, his voice deepening with a sense of resigned tranquility. I've fallen into your hands. We nestled on the sofa, watching the black and white fur ball frantically knead the headphone wire, laughing until we could hardly breathe. Suddenly, he turned to me, his eyes sparkling with revelation. I should have noticed it earlier. Only you would remember to knock over my soda can while stealing ham sausage. I blinked, recalling how back in school, I would sneak chocolates from his drawer while he napped, and after indulging, I would deliberately stuff the empty wrappers into his pencil case. Those little secrets, long buried by time, had evidently been cherished by him all along. I gazed at the fading scars on his arm, suddenly understanding that some feelings are not merely the impulsive whims of youth. They grow like the rings on an ancient tree trunk, quietly expanding in the unobserved years. The evening sun cast its final warm rays into the living room, enveloping the young couple nestled together on the sofa and the cat sprawled like a fluffy pancake on their laps, as if it had stolen all the happiness of the world. The chaotic days ahead may be long, but the warmth of this moment is enough to counter any crisis in cat virtue. Those missed times, those restless thoughts, have ultimately found their home. Life may often be filled with unforeseen twists, much like that fateful accident or the extraordinary exchange of souls. Yet, after a series of meandering paths, we ultimately found ourselves beside one another. After all, one is willing to engage, another to endure, and there is yet another tasked with pilfering the sausages. This, indeed, constitutes a fulfilling conclusion. The end of the narrative. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like and subscribe. Until we meet again in our next tale.